So, welcome back to the YouTube channel, and I haven't posted in like 2 years or so. You know, because life and shit. But I gotta, fucking wiggle the camera. Woo! I've been building a lot of stuff, and I have built something. And I'm going to build another one, and that's what this video is going to be. So it's March here in Washington, and that means we're going to start coming up into the camping season, you know, like mid to late next month in April. And I've been wanting to build this for years, and I actually built it last weekend. But I'm building another one. It is a campfire cooking apparatus. It's a giant wok for cooking over the campfire, but it's also got some other attachments that go with it. But basically, it is a big ass metal wok. This one here is 22.5 inches in diameter and weighs half a metric fucking ton. But it's just a plowing disc. And so it sits on a frame, a circular frame attached to a pole going into the ground, and you can put it over your campfire and whatnot. And a buddy's dad built one about 20 plus years ago, and we use it, you know, every time we go camping with him. But when we don't go camping with him, it's nice to be able to have it. So I said, fuck it, I'm gonna build one. Built it last weekend, like I said, and now I'm going to take you guys through the build process on it. It's actually one of the easiest things that I've built thus far. So these are the other essential pieces of the build. So this is a 3-foot long concrete form stake. So it's got holes off every 90 degrees here. But it's 3 foot long, and then this guy, this is the actual cradle or rest, or what have you, for the wok to sit on, and it's rebar, 1/2-inch rebar, bent and chopped and welded and fabricated together. And so when you take this guy and you pound him into the dirt right next to your fire pit, you take this guy and you slide it down and you tighten him back up. It don't go nowhere. And then of course you can move her up and down over the campfire as your cooking needs dictate, your heat requirements change. You want to go from a hot cook to a slow cook, and you just raise her up and lock her back into position. So, get this out of the way here, and we'll go through the parts. Obviously, you're going to need one of these. And you can get these at the Homeless Despot, the Home Depot there, for you non-Canucka stands. Over in the concrete aisle, right next to, in the same bin area, shelving unit as the rebar. So 3 foot by concrete form stake. Then of course you're going to need to get some rebar, also at the Home Depot. These are 1/2-inch by 4 foot lengths. I got 5 of these, just to have some extra, and you never know, in case you fuck up. Couple few, depending on how many attachments you want to make for the rod. But these are 5/16 by 18 by 2.5. Black pipe, 3/4 inch black pipe. This fits a little wobbly on the concrete stake there. You take a chipping hammer, and this is like $6 the Harbor Freight, and you go ahead and cut the head off. And you drill your hole down the middle, right where this guy went, and that's a 5/16 bar, round stock. And so if you're good enough, which I am lucky enough sometimes to get that spot drilled out right where that guy went into, and then when you take your 5/16 and you shovel it through, bam, and then when you cut the head off of her, you end up with something about yay, and then you can take this here nut and do all your different hangulations and get that in there right where you can weld her. So I've got to make 2 more of these here real quick. We're gonna run on back over to that guy, the chop saw. Yep. Oh, here comes the boy. Alright, I'm gonna go cut this real quick.
What?
Making a YouTube video.
You are?
Yes, I am. What are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Talk to a couple of nice people.
Cool.
Pretty nice. They gave me my name and they gave me.
Alright, watch out. Hey, move your bike, because I'm going to throw sparks at it.
Why?
Watch it. I bet you that was loud as fuck, huh? Alright. Go. We're just going to take this guy and right at 5 inches, do the same thing. And again, at 5 inches. Here's the thing, I know how hot that fucking piece is. You put your hand shoes on and you don't get burnt. Yeah, it's pretty hot, huh?
Yeah. How much of those have you done?
Oh, you can count them.
4. No, 5. I'm guessing.
Yes, or you count. That's hot.
Ow.
Junior just burnt his fingers. Where's your gloves at?
I don't have gloves.
Yes, you do, because I bought you gloves before. You know what we're doing right here?
What?
It's called deburring.
Oh.
See that little piece right there?
Yeah.
What's this called?
A punch?
A file.
Oh.
We're just going to take our file and we're going to put it in through there.
Wait, I forgot the gloves that you gave me.
Yeah, well, then don't touch nothing hot or sharp.
Whoa, it's hot. That's it. I'm gonna move my bike over here next to it.
Alright, so we got those deburred. Okay, so where'd that sucker go?
It's because it looks like you have too much stuff.
I do have a lot of stuff up here, buddy. Alright, so spring-loaded center punch. These things are awesome. You're going to stick that right there in your square. And right at 2.5. Sucker.
There, I found the gloves.
Ah, very nice. So do the same on both of them. Do them right at 2.5. want those right in the middle of the pipe section. I personally like to start my holes out at pilot at 1/8 of an inch. And since this is really thin wall, I mean, you're talking 1/8 of an inch wall, I'm just going to go straight up to 5/16 from the 1/8. Okay, so we're going to pop those out to 5/16. Alright. You look down in there, buddy, and see where the hole is?
Yeah.
You see a little burr on the inside of it?
Yeah.
Check this out. Take this file. How about now?
Don't see it anymore.
All clean?
Yeah.
Do the same with the other. Alright. So these guys are now all done.
Now we need...
Well, what I got to do now real quick, can you move those somewhere else, please? Thank you. What I'm going to do, real quick, like, is I got to cut the head off of this bolt. I got a line down here in my vise where I've been lining these heads up at to cut them off. See?
Wow.
That's hot, don't touch it.
Okay.
Alright, so we got the head off of that one. That's the last one that I had to do. Now that we've got, oh, that one's still warm. Where the hell are the rest? Oh, there they are. So now that we've got the all these cut out, and if you're making one of these, you'd normally do just three sleeves to go over the center post. I'm having to redo some because I like this design better than the square tube design that I went with originally. But now you got that hole cut right there, drilled right there, cut. Just take about, I don't know, 1/3 to 2/3 ish. And it's time for welding. We rolling. Okay, we're rolling. Alright. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take and slap this guy in the vise. Tighten it down. Now I've got my nut further in because I want it to be flush when I weld it. So I'm putting it in there so there's more weight hanging down below the nut. Yep. I need a left hand. Yeehaw! Alright. Okay, so now that that's tacked on there, we can take our head handle, fucking dealy bobber, get her on there, and I've got, you can't see it well here, let me make you see it, bam, I got a little bit of depth right in here so that my bead can penetrate on the handle and on the bolt. Fucking missed it! Alright. Okay, there we have it. Check this out. It's not the prettiest weld on the top there. Boop. And the side. Okay. So we're gonna let that one cool right there. Now remember, because you cut the heads off of these, one side's going to be gnarled up, the other side's going to be factory end. When you put these down in here, make sure you're putting factory end down in your hole, because if you haven't cleaned off the end of the threads, it's going to be a pain in the ass to get the nut back on. I'm going to weld. Okay. Here.
What? Okay.
Go squared off. Okay, so the welding up to this point is done. We've got all these little guys right here, all the sleeves, and you know, those, whatever the hell they're called. The tightening handle. Way up high there. Alright, so we got the sleeves done, we've got the handles done. Next step, we need to make the ring. That supports the wok with the rest of the frame. So what I got here is I got my forge. I got my forge fired up. Well, that's not true. I have a big brush burner fired up next to my forge. And the reason I'm doing that is because the outside diameter of the forge, this lip right here, is 14 inches. And that's the diameter that I want the ring that supports it to be. So what we're going to do is we're heating up this piece of rebar, and we're going to bend it around the outside of the forge using the brush burner to keep it heated up continuously. So I'm going to let this finish up warming up, then we're going to start bending it. Well, it's round and it's fairly flat. Alright, we're losing light outside a little bit, so I moved back inside. We've got the ring done, which is sitting right here below frame in the vise. And I've got my big ass lights, which really sucks for you guys because you can see my face. We're gonna fix that real quick though. Actually, it looks like it's pretty good all the way around. And it's still friggin' incredibly warm, but you can see that it's welded all the way around. Fuck, that's hot. Still, it's welded all the way around. Alright, so I'm gonna let her cool down, and then we're going to proceed on to the next little bit, which I've actually done already, which is cutting the supports to length. And these are the pieces that I've cut. And this is where they're going to go. I'm going to support the circle, or the hoop, the ring, whatever you want to call it. They're supporting that down to the sleeve. Let's get into some geometry here. Okay. So the disc is 22.5 in diameter. The ring is 14 inches in diameter. I want the sleeve 16 inches from the center point right here. So in doing all of that, what I've done is I've got two different lengths of support. So this one is 12.5 inches. The bottom one is 12.75 of an inch. The support gets laid in between here and here, and then welded up to here. So a little bit of figuring, a little bit of geometry, and we're actually going to lay down once the ring cools down. We're going to lay it out on the table. That's still warm. We're going to lay it out on the table and get the supports where they need to be before we tack it up. Alright, now flip her over and we get these guys going on here. So, we got her welded together here, and I make no apologies for my welding because, well, one, I'm not the best damn welder in the world, and I also run Harbor Freight equipment because, well, I'm cheap. So, I mean, if you want to sponsor me, a Miller, anyone, patrons, I would be glad to accept a nice fucking Miller MIG welder. But for now, I got what I got. Alright, so it's the next day, and this is what we're actually going to be using for the wok. It's an old plow disc, so it's rusted as heck, and we're going to clean it up and get it ready for welding. So I got the disc all cleaned up. Looks all real nice, but we got this hole in the middle that we got to fill in. So I got this 1/4 inch chunk of plate that I cut out, and it's not the best circle, but I don't need the best circle because we're actually gonna weld all that in. So I got this here magnet. Go ahead, pop that in there and flip this guy around. I'm just gonna drop this guy right in there. Center it up, and then get to welding her. Alright, so we got the hole in the middle all welded up there with our piece of plate. So it's grinding time. We're grinding that smooth. Now the disc in the center is 3/16. The plate is 1/4 inch, so it's going to be proud, obviously, plus the weld. So we got to grind all that down flat, and we've got to take that 1/16 off. So you won't be able to see it on camera, but right down in here there's a couple holes that I missed when I was welding or whatever. So we're just gonna tack those in real quick. Really, it's just so oil doesn't get down in there and smoke. You have this one little stream of smoke coming out. And back to grinding. Alright, so we're back over here at the rolling table, and we've got the disc over there. Next thing we got going, so we got to make the handles for the wok, and these will actually weld on either side of the wok. So all these are the handles for the chipping hammers that we use for these guys. First things first, got to get the paint off of it, and then bend this 90 degrees right here. And then once this is bent, we'll bend it again about 2.5 inches ish, and we'll bend this down a little bit to conform with the angle of the wok. So first things first, get this paint off of her. And my favorite way to remove paint is with flame. so we got the paint off that, and I left the paint on the handle itself just because I'm not going to take all that off since it's the handle. So now we got to bend them. Alright, so we've got both of them bent, and we've got our mark out here 2.5 inches out on both sides, and you see we did them backwards because we're gonna have the handles on either side of the wok there. So now we just got to get these guys bent up to the proper angle and welded onto the wok. Alright, now that these guys have cooled down where I can touch them, we're going to weld them onto the wok. So we got this clamped on. You want to make sure it's even. You want to make sure it's the right distance away from your center so that basically roughly the middle of the handle is the midline of the wok. And when you're carrying it, it's not front heavy or back heavy. You know, it's right in the middle, well balanced. Now here's the thing, you got the first one welded on, use that as your reference and eyeball it or measure it, but don't weld this one until you're 100% sure that it's in place where exactly you want it. Well, there you have it. This is the finished wok. Well, finished as in all the fabricating is done anyway. So really all you got to do before you use this is season it just like you would a cast iron. And this is also going to temper. It's going to change color as you season it. So kick her over the flame. Wow, foggy. Kick her over a flame. Heat her up. Clean her down with oil, with salt. Get into all the pits and get all that, just any last little bit of shit out of it. Get her all heated up evenly over the entire surface, and seal it in with oil, and should be good to use. We're gonna go ahead and do that before we give this out to my buddy. Yeah. So this is the finished wok. All we got to do before we use it is season it. Which you're gonna do just like a regular cast iron. Heat it up, seal it with oil. The outside, the non-cooking surface side, I usually hit with a coat of boiled linseed oil, just to make sure to protect the metal. The cooking surface side, I use vegetable oil or lard. But there it is. We're gonna get it all seasoned up and give it to my buddy for his birthday this Friday, and there we have it. I will definitely be making some more stuff in the future, so look for more videos to come. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe, and thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon.